if you can hear it as well. It's next to the Bucky.
I can't tell who's who.
Just kidding. Ouch.
Mr. Walstead, can you hear us?
I hear you just fine. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir.
Good.
Are you here for the extra duty meeting?
Yeah, I received an invitation for it. I didn't know I needed to be here.
Okay, I don't think you do, but you're more than welcome to hang out.
I'm more than welcome to click the end call button. Okay. Yeah, I think I'll do that. I must have been mistakenly added to this list. So you guys have a good meeting and we'll talk to you soon.
All right, you too.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, I've got 4:15, so I think we can get started here. I thought we could just go down the list of the document that was circulated in terms of the additions, revisions, and we can discuss those one by one if anybody has questions. So, any objections to that? All right, so the first two we've got is, I guess the first four would be.
Taylor, can you get us? You don't pass that one down. That's kind of what we're looking.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got one right here. And I got one that's like written up on.
We've got middle school, boys and girls soccer, and assistant coaches for both of those. I'm assuming that's just kind of growth in numbers. Previously been 7 through 12, now going to be split up based off the numbers.
Right, and with us splitting it, we've been able to have more kids come out because some parents were sending their kids out because they didn't want their seventh graders playing against 11th graders on a JV or something like that. And so we had middle school soccer for the boys, and already this year girls will be this spring. And we wanted to have two different percentages to have a separation between the head coach and the assistant coach. The head coach has more duties as far as having everything ready before the games and making sure we have officials and things of that nature. So they have more duties than the assistant coach does.
Boys are fall and girls are spring, did you say?
Yes.
For being position.
This is something that we added with Dr. Bailey that we're having now, but it's not on negotiated agreement. So we want to add it to the negotiated agreement. This is the first year.
Yeah, right now in the negotiated agreement, it's just head varsity coach and assistant coach for boys and girls. 9.9 and 6.3 respectively for those. Any questions that anybody's got on that? I didn't have any issues with those, so. I assume those will fall under the acceleration policy then if you're a seventh or eighth grader and want to play JV or varsity.
Then they'll have to go through the steps to be added, but we don't foresee too many of those.
Okay. Right, Alphabet Club is proposed to be added. Maybe if you can just let us know what that is, I guess.
So that's our, club that we started as the LGBT club. We have our provisions here, that we ask our clubs for any clubs.
Yeah.
For all of our clubs that are gonna start up and be brand new, we ask them to follow those procedures. It just talks about having a purpose, who's your advisor, having a prerequisite number of students signed up to say that they're gonna be part of it. What's your purpose, what's the vision of the club, all those different things. They met with us in the fall and they followed those steps through, so. Next year, we will be looking to add them onto the negotiating agreement. For the high school.
30 seconds.
Would that be proposing under like the extra curricular one or the co-curricular?
Extracurricular.
And those duties, hours, et cetera, you feel kind of fall in line. The other ones that are at 4.5%.
We compared it to, you know, where FBLA is, SCLA, we felt kind of in that.
Questions? Okay, moving on then, we've got head winter middle school drill and assistant school winter middle school drill. Again, I guess similar to soccer or
Exactly the same, running, yeah, exactly the same. We wanted to make sure we had a middle school program. They, before the Wonderettes came into our high school, they had a high school and middle school program, and so felt it was good to have that feeder program, following the same procedures and policies that our high school program does. Have a head coach for that, have a middle school coach for that, or assistant coach for that, excuse me. And the same thing for the fall. Cheer position, we didn't have middle school fall cheer. There was schools around us that did, so we wanted to be able to have cheerleaders that could cheer at the football games and be able to experience that before having to be the first time in high school. And so it's again developing a feeder program that will work for our kids to get experience, learn the fundamentals before they get into high school. And there's a head position for that and an assistant for that.
I might just like.
Is there an assistant for the middle school fall cheer?
Well, there will be an assistant for the middle school fall cheer when we hire someone for that position. There, for example, for our winter cheer, there was 27 girls that were on that team. So it's a little bit less for the fall, but it's still got over 20 that'll be doing that both 7th and 8th grade.
Says 28 or.
So,
So this is the staff for the middle school and the staff for the high school.
right, so we have a head and assistant for the high school, and then head for the middle school. We had an assistant, don't have an assistant anymore, looking for an assistant. But 2 separate staffs. The middle school group cheers at the football games, the fall cheer at the football games for the 7th grade and 8th grade, depending on who's at home, would not go on the road. High school staff, the varsity cheerleaders go to every football game that is marking in Fargo games. But they go on the road and go home, cheer at the JV games, cheer at the 9th grade home games.
We see for the drill. But they kind of same.
The drill, right, the drill, the middle school season is in the winter time, and so they have practices after school every day, and then they have a state competition that was about 3 weeks ago. That they would have a state competition that they work towards, but they also will perform in middle school basketball game, half times, things like that.
But it's all relative. It looks like drill and cheer are pretty relative.
Yep. And the middle school cheer, they competed in state tournament in the fall, and they missed by half a point. A girl had a hairband on her wrist, and that deducted them a point. They missed place by half a point. Yeah, it's crazy. And then, but they won the state championship in one of the divisions this year. So.
All right, assistant, summer strength and conditioning. One of the questions that we so.
I left it off of that one email that sent to you. So we have our strength and conditioning coach. He'll be running our Sanford Power Strength and Conditioning this summer. It'll be a little bit different than years past. It'll be about 1 hour and 15 minutes in length. It'll be roughly 6 sessions throughout the day. We want to give him assistance to be able to run the program, bring in kids from the middle school, make sure we have female on staff, those kind of things. So we want to have those paid positions for the summer to be able to hit those practice, to hit those training sessions to give him some assistance, because we're hoping to have good numbers. So with having 3 would be able to split them in different groups or train different things at one time and eliminate standing around, help with supervision, make sure we're getting things done the right way, make sure we're being done safely, those kind of things.
So is the head strength and conditioning coach in the negotiated agreement, or is that a will not?
That's one that we have through Sanford that when we get paid for this strength and conditioning, the money will be used to offset the costs that we have with bringing him on. So we get to use that to pay towards the amount that we owe having Jake on our staff. So he does not need to be on this part, but the assistants we'd like to have on that part. So we can hopefully retain them when we have second year, third year, fourth year, and get some consistency in that.
So like, we're really looking at safety.
We want to be able to supervise, we want to be able to have good supervision as far as the technique in the weight room, because they're moving heavy weights, they're under heavy weights, those kind of things. Kids that are good for spotting will be around, or we have one group in the weight room, one group on the field, and one group in the gym. We want to be able to have adequate supervision there to make sure that it's done safely. And we don't have kids that are unsupervised, because they don't work as hard, number one, and number two, you're looking at problems with people not being watched.
Okay, then we'll go down to the revision section. Many of these, at least the head positions, is up to me just where we're kind of differentiating between, I'm assuming who's already employed in the head, but is being paid under the assistant category in the existing negotiated agreement.
Right, we asked our head coaches to do more. Obviously, if there's things that we have issues or they're scheduling things like that, those are people that we reach out to and look to answers for. And so there's some sports that are on there that do have middle school head coaches, and then there are some that do not. And we think it's important that every program has a clear and defined leader, people that we know whose responsibility it is to do certain things. And someone that the parents can look to as that person, someone that we can look to whenever we need to talk to them about the program. So we ask more out of these individuals. We think they should be compensated as such.
And then make a difference with boys and girls track right now.
Passes, I was just middle school track. On middle school boys track and some girls track. And because now everybody's splitting their meets. Before it was middle school track meet, now it's this is middle school boys track meet, middle school girls. Yeah, we're looking at like 100 and some boys and 100 and some girls, and you got 200 and some kids out there.
The fee for the park district can say that that's probably.
The track meets would last forever. You almost, you have to limit entries in an event, number one, because you'll have 42 kids doing long jump.
Yeah.
And so it takes forever. I mean, we had 186 middle school track athletes last year. I think we'll have over 200 this year. Dickinson had over 200. So those track meets just are enormous. So separating those helps. We can get those kids practice. So if we have a boys meet, the girls can practice and then help with the girls meet, or help with that meet, or they can just help with the meet depending on what's going on. But you need to have that separation to get the good coaching, so everyone knows who they're going to coach, where they go, and it's clearly defined as who the head coach is too. You don't want one person in charge of both, because that gets a little overwhelming.
So under the spring positions right now, where it says assistant middle school track and field coach, the requested revision is kind of above that to add head middle school boys track at 7.2 and then head middle school girls track at 7.2.
Right above the system middle school track and field coach, right?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Question or questions on those? Okay, girls and boys tennis. Same thing as what we just
It's a lot of
discussed.
A lot of the same thing. The boys tennis is 7 to 12. The girls tennis has high school and middle school, but if our boys program grows, then we would have middle school and high school, and wanted to have that language there for us to be able to implement that as far as for equity's sake and to be able to have it cleanly and smoothly happen if we get those numbers up.
Boys are still in the fall, girls in the spring.
Yes.
Discussion on that. Right, had that fall middle school cheer, had an assistant. These brand new additions.
These would be new additions to the negotiated agreement. Yes.
Those all, because I had them in revisions.
Yeah,
That's
those
on
ones.
me.
That's ones we had earlier.
Had fall cheerleading coach and assistant fall cheerleading coach.
Yes.
7.2.
All right, head winter, middle school cheer, assistant. Same as the previous ones we've discussed, just like. Improving the head of the assistant. Same thing with boys and girls wrestling.
So we have, on there, we have middle school girls wrestling coach and middle school boys wrestling coach, but we do have individuals that are in charge of a lot of things, and being the head coach, so we want to just be able to differentiate between those. Our girls wrestling right now, all of our wrestlers are high school level. That's what everyone does throughout the state. But we were able to jump our numbers pretty well from last year to this year. I think we added like 17 more wrestlers. Went from 4 to 24, so about 20 more wrestlers added. So if we can keep close to that pace, we might be getting to that point where we could separate. So it would be good to have that in there. So when that time comes, it's clear and smooth.
And from a costing perspective, it's for the head, it's that incremental point. 9%.
Right.
Right now, they'd be being paid at the 6.3. So it takes them to the 7.2 for the head.
Right.
Questions, discussion on that? All right, concessions. Varsity or high school concessions, discussion on if we want to change the description on that. I think Mr. Conley thought maybe we should have it as high school concessions.
Well, varsity concessions, because we only open it during for varsity events when we host just freshmen or JV games. We open it, so I had so much more onto the plate of it already, because around, what we say, 50, over 50 events. Position that is very hard to fill. It's my 7th school year. I think we've had 5 different people, one including my wife. She ran it last year, because no one else would do it. She didn't want to do it again. It's just lots, and then no one applied this year, so. On my shoulders to do all of that stuff. I think it should be increased to compensate them for how much they're there for football games, some basketball games are the main ones that are really grueling and long.
Cause you're talking 60 events, and we're talking from 4 o'clock to
Yeah,
10 o'clock. right?
basketball is from 4 to, they would usually, last night they were there from about 4 to 10, because they do clean up, wash everything, mop everything. Football games, when we have 3,000 people there and it's nonstop, it's hard. I wouldn't want to do it. It's hard. So we want to be able to compensate someone, or if it was raised up high enough, we could split it and have 2 people do it to where they shared that stipend. To ease the burden a little bit, but it's on heavy traffic nights, it's a lot of work. You've got to make sure you've got everything ordered before and put up and stocked if it's not stocked, so.
So they'd be responsible for the ordering and building and all that stuff.
They order it, we help them with the purchasing part of it, but they need to make sure they tell us, okay, we need Pepsi isn't here, we need to go ahead and get this stocked and filled and. You know, then they're in there with, we try to get clubs and teams to come in and work it, and they're in there supervising the money, doing those things, and football games and big basketball games, they're working right alongside with them and the other adults that are in there, so. It's hard work.
So there's certainly more to it than just show up and be at the games.
Oh, it's not a sit down and watch kind of thing. It's, you're sweating and you're tired and you're out of breath when you get done, and
You got to do some prep ahead of time. You gotta throw tackle, not that on the prep on so much. 4 hours before, that's what generally what I do, so.
How's the revenue recognized from concession sales? Does that go back
So
to
it
the
goes-
letting budget or?
It goes into a varsity concessions account, but then whatever group works that event, we also have a 7-up that we put into their fundraising account too, so. For a football game, we do $500, so if drill team works a football game, they get $500, the rest goes back into concessions.
How much of it was tied back to the operator as far as, so you pay that stipend?
Well, the stipends come out of jail.
Actually.
But one thing too, that the general fund defines that applies.
What's that? We code how to essentially pay the bills.
Oh, really? But this just started this year.
We've been doing that fast, yeah. Because I've been told we've had no one session now. That's something we talked about this summer, not told no. Okay, because we said it about things, we generally don't make a profit concession stand. Obviously, might have to give the groups and then by paying all the food. Right, well, like what we start the year with is what we end the year with. So we're not trying to make a ton of money in there because we want to make it for.
Keep it going.
Students. There's some concession stands like at Rough Rider Center, chicken strip basket's $12. Ours is $8.
Yeah. we had to raise our prices this year. And we're still, people come by and say, oh, you can't believe our prices are that low. That we're the lowest. That they.
You're not the one.
Well,
Mine on highs. Mine on highs the lowest.
Believe me, Kai knows every concession stand.
Everybody from Bismarck and Mandan and stuff, they can't believe what popcorn is the price it is and stuff
Yeah.
like that, so. They're appreciative of it, but we also have to. Stuff breaks, we've had to buy new things for it and take care of that, add stuff to it to try to make it a little bit more appealing, to make people want to be there, Dippin' Dots, they can go crazy over it, things like that, so should. Try to make it a good experience too.
Seven's about 50 to 60.
When you add in the home basketball games, we have varsity basketball girls and varsity boys basketball. If somebody was to work those games, they would consider 2 events, so those 10 home days are 2 events on top.
I do understand the gravity of concessions, obviously, it's well, it's a largely overlooked operation, that is a significant operation, it's a big job. I'd like to learn more about just the revenue generation and where the money is going, and how that works. Yeah, they're not generally profitable, they're more service. So divinity is a service, makes the experience beneficial, but it's not something you would look at. It's a tough one.
People notice when it's not there, when it's not open, even in our freshman games. They're still not open, when we,
And generally, the people who want to run the concessions are involved with the athletics, or they're there, right? When they get working, they don't see those games.
no,
They don't see a minute of those.
no. They'll poke their head out to see if it's halftime at the last game, so we can start cleaning up, or they'll call them since they need something and say, let's score the game.
No, I definitely understand why it's hard to keep some. I understand. It's a passion.
My 4 years, we've been through 4.
Last year, based on my tracking, brought in 54,000 and spent 58,000. That's after paying session crew, we're paying, 15,000. After football game, giant mess, so a lot of times cheerleaders say they bleachers.
Mike? Well, I just didn't realize like the. See. Well, it's Thursday, but there's concessions.
That's what we did this year, they don't.
Yeah, this is.
They stopped paying the clubs this year, so now the custodians are doing it.
You're picking up some overtime.
Yeah, how's that?
Probably.
I mean, they were there anyways, they were just.
Doing more work, right? Yeah. They were supervising and helping. Cleaners need more garbage bag. Where does this go?
Now we've also come out of the concessions fund. Clean up. Still be aspect of it. I know generally it's, I've always seen the at least it's for you.
NHS.
Close in.
Close in.
You guys proposing to stay at 48 on the base, Jeff, or were you proposing to bring that up more during negotiations table? You guys had any
That's something
discussions?
we're, yeah, we'll have to talk about it, obviously. The finance came out today, a few hours ago, looking at that, just trying to make sure we get numbers right. If the, see what legislature says, if it's reasonable, then we might propose something, if it's not, we might not either, so we gotta wait to see what they're gonna do down in Bismarck.
I guess where I'd be at on this one, Joe, is I'd certainly be in agreement that the number in terms of the percentage needs to change to something. But until I guess I know what the proposed base is, whether it's gonna stay at 48 or whether it's gonna be a requested change. Be comfortable making a recommendation of the percentage, I guess, until we know where we land on that one. It needs to go up, I guess, just a matter of where we land on the base and what that percentage.
It's gonna use.
If it stays at 48, I'd be fine at 19%, I guess, is what I could say today.
The goal is to not kick the can, we don't have to have this conversation again. That's even what we do, is not Yeah, I would agree with.
Yeah, I think that's.
All right, ESA.
So right now we have the TSA coordinator we have middle school TSA, and so what this purpose was to just put that as middle school TSA, to change the name so it says exactly what school it's at. Right now, we do not have a high school TSA coordinator. But it might be wise to put it on there in the event that we are able to have one. I don't think that we will be getting one soon, but it makes sense to have it on the schedule in the event that we did it.
For high school, because we have a teacher at the middle school, central campus, who's teaching those classes, which can consist of a TSA club.
Right, technology students.
So when we've got TSA coordinator under the extracurricular right now, he's proposing to change the wording to that. To
Above the
middle school TSA and 4.5%.
Just to kind of clean it up a little bit, so we know exactly what it was.
And if we were to add the high school, is that proposed at 4.5 as well, or
6.3.
questions or discussion on that?
So just to kind of clarify what high school TSA looks like, so, TSA is actually a career and technical education, organization, and so when you have like, if we were to find an engineering teacher or STEM teacher for the Career and Tech Center, to be a qualified program, we'd have to have the CTSO student organization, Career and Tech student organization that goes with it, so that's when the TSA would come into play.
Good. Last thing I had on the list was the middle school athletic director. Right now, it sounds like that's a at-will non-rep position, not negotiated agreement. My opinion, that's where it should stay. At-will non-rep position. My individual opinion. Nothing.
I agree. I think obviously something needs to be done with that position. There's a lot of work there. But keeping it where it's at is. We're all from that. That'll be something Dr. Johnson. You did. Look out.
Yeah, we kind of already talked about some things that I'm going to do. Provisions, some schools do a part-time teacher, part-time AD kind of thing for those schools and stuff, so.
The one we got right now is working his tail off. And you see how he did.
Anything additional, Jeff, from this list that came up after the fact that? Discussed
nope.
today?
Nope.
One thing I would add, the base for what our schedule is. On the 21 to 23 negotiated agreement, the base for co-curriculars and extracurriculars was different than what the base was for teachers. On the 23 to 25 one, it was the same. I just want to make sure that it would stay the same. So if it went up to 48.25 or whatever, that it would be reflected on that on this schedule as well, so it would mirror it.
So I did just that, but it's the base. New teacher, this would, but I just, that's not spelled out anywhere.
Well, that was the thing that we were talking about, is I don't know where that came from, right? Cause you would think it would,
Yeah, on the 21 and
Follow
23, I think it was 38.5 or.
right, but that was not
39.
the base
But
then,
the
so.
base was 47,250, I think,
So
so.
I don't know if they held the base on the.
They did. It
Did-
was,
did you-
It was,
okay.
yeah, no, I've been on the negotiation
Yeah.
committee from the start, so there was obviously a huge adjustment in the base when the districts
Right.
merged. District One's base was significantly.
Yeah.
District Eight, so. There was some sizable increase to the budget.
Yeah.
Salary schedules, so as I recall, the trade-off was. The base on the athletics was held lower for a period of time, or kind of
Catch up, per
catch up
se.
with the revenues in that, and then. I think 48, yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah,
right now.
that's-
So
Yeah, I understood.
typically that it's matched in the past.
It stated the previous. I remember that as a coach. I remember that.
I don't have any major. It's just, whatever this terms calculates out into dollars, goes into the bucket of money that we're looking at the end of the day, so.
Then we'll make sure that we look at concessions again later on down the road.
Yep, that's the only one that, I had a note on that. Wait to decide on the percent until the base is
I think that's reasonable.
kind of confirmed. Typically, what we did last year from this meeting, Jeff, the students typed up, some notes in terms of the recommendations and. We'll forward a copy to the school board, so they can look at that, and they'll send a copy to you to take a look at, and. Look that over, make sure that we didn't miss anything, and it's with everybody, we can figure that out there. If you decide, and negotiations start, so.
Sounds good.
Anything else, anybody else needs to bring up?
You good on your end?
it's good.
Awesome.
Alright. Should only take us one meeting once we get to the road table, yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Got like a gavel with it or?
Oh, yeah. So, okay. Thanks, everybody.
All right. Guys, all right, it's 5. Start very satchel move.
Yeah.
That's the
Neighbors are starting to say, all right.
I know negotiating.
Oh, that's good.
I didn't even look.